take the smile off.
Time being 6 o'clock, we'll get underway. Thank you, fellas. Thank you for attendance. We have and welcome to our July meeting. We have apologies from Councillor Diprose and Councillor Lehman. A reminder that this council meeting is recorded. It will be live streamed and will remain available to the public online. Firstly, to our acknowledgement of country, the Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respects to the traditional owners of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the Palawa Pakana people. We acknowledge the Punalapana tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. And our statement of values, guided by the diverse beliefs, experiences and backgrounds of the people we represent, we strive to make inspired and respectful decisions today that will build a better tomorrow. Moving on through the agenda to item 1.1, confirmation of minutes. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for the minutes of the 19th of June? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Hiskett. Any questions or discussion on the accuracy of the minutes? No, there being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? They're carried. 2.1 is councillor workshops. A list there of the workshops we've undertaken. We'll also add the workshop from Wednesday, I think it was, the 21st of June, where we spent time working on the future of local government review. So if it's okay to add that to the minutes, that would be appreciated. In that case, would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item, including the verbal update it provided? Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Any questions or discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 3.1, Mayor's Communications. It is my great pleasure in this section tonight to welcome our new General Manager, Barry O'Munson. Welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It's been a busy first week for you as you've settled in and tried to touch base with staff and get up to speed. So we welcome you. We've got a all of staff meeting this Thursday afternoon. The public notices have been put out so that people are aware that some aspects of our business will be closing earlier than usual. So that will be a great opportunity for Barry to meet and welcome all the staff that are able to be freed that time. And yeah, we've got some good work ahead. It's an exciting time and we welcome you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. 3.2 is the Mayor's Diary, a list there of items attended. If I could just verbally add for myself, firstly, yes, that would be yesterday, Sunday the 16th, my attendance at the GRIT, Tasmanian Spirit on Screen set of short films that were filmed here in our own cinema, and an amazing bunch of artwork, absolutely some amazing films, some of which by our very own Central Coast residents, which is particularly exciting. And just wanted to also note that on Saturday night, Councillor Hiskett and I attended the Ulverston Fire Brigade dinner. Again, complete kudos to them. Over 3,000 hours in the past year of call-outs. That doesn't include training, meetings and that type of thing. An amazing display of commitment to our community from those 30 odd members. It was a great opportunity to join them and hear what they're up to. And I did flag with the brigade leadership team that it would be great if at some point in time councillors and the general manager could join them up at the Lovett Street station to have a look through that venue, because many of you might not have done that. So we'll arrange that sometime over the coming months, but we thank them for their invitation and all of those people, their invitations. So the Deputy Mayor has attendance. Councillor Wiley, did you have anything to verbally add there to your attendance?
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the Northwest Thunder MVP end of season function yesterday, so if we can add that one to it, that would be fabulous.
Yes, thank you. Any other additions or questions?
Was your event you went to on Saturday part of
The West Ulverston, the game?
The Mavix film crew in Penguin? You want that added?
Oh, I did too. Yes, Saturday. We welcome. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. On Saturday, I had the great pleasure of welcoming the film actors and crew for Mavex Films from the Philippines. They are filming, well, probably not as we speak because it'll be dark in Penguin right now, but yesterday, today and tomorrow, filming in and around Penguin, the Visitor Information Centre, Hisket Park, the Big Penguin, of course, the skate park. They'll be heading up to Cradle Mountain one day in the next couple of days to film. So there's probably about 50 people, members of the public, that just joined us for a cup of tea at quite short notice. But it was lots of all the cameras, all the selfies, all those people that came knew all the stars that I didn't know. So they, at the moment people walked in the door, they knew who the stars were and they headed straight to them with their cameras. And it was really great that a young man that is currently studying media and film production at UTAS also took that opportunity to come along and talk to the producer and the crew. So that was good. No, thank you, John. It was a great, and they appreciated our hospitality. So thank you for the reminder. Right. If there's no, yes.
If I may just make a comment on one of the events that I attended on your behalf, Mayor, which was the Red Cross Christmas in July function. And I just wanted to mention that because I was talking to a lovely lady by the name of Mary there who was telling me that up until about 7 years ago, they were unfortunately at a stage where they had to look at closing the branch in Ulverston, and they've gone from that to now having one of the most active branches in Tasmania, one of the two most active. There is a program that they have been running throughout the duration of COVID and even beforehand, which is called the MATES program, and unfortunately that's looking like it's not going to be able to continue with the Red Cross. But I just wanted to highlight that the work that they've done with that, which is around supporting people that are struggling with social isolation and getting volunteers to befriend some of these people that are struggling really badly with loneliness. And the stories that I heard about that and how it had gone from a volunteer to client basis and now changed to having formed lifelong friendships. I just think it's really important to highlight the amazing work they've done there, and they are looking for hopefully another organisation to be able to continue that program, which they've done some amazing work with. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you indeed. Tasmania's oldest Red Cross branch, so we're very proud of that, and certainly in the lead up to their 100-year celebration, it looked like we might not make 100 years, and now we've come out the other side, and you're right, they're flourishing. So yeah, thank you and congratulations to them. Anything else on the diary? No, there being none, would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item, including the verbal updates provided? Thank you, Councillor Hisket. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. No further discussion, I presume. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, the motion is carried. 3.3 is declaration of interest. Does any councillor have an interest to declare in any matter on this agenda? No, thank you. 4.1. Councillor reports. Would any councillors like to speak about groups or committees to which they've been appointed? Councillor Hisket.
Thank you. Just to speak briefly, September Circus have recently had their meeting. Things are continuing along well there. Just like to acknowledge the president in the room as well, Lyndall Thorne as well. So.
Welcome. Thank you, Councillor Hisket. Councillor Smith.
I attended with yourself, Mayor, the AGM for the band and a bit of Porter Patriot, so well done. They're going really well. Looking forward to getting their new roof. And just, yeah, I'm really pleased with everything, and it was a pleasure to be able to go.
Indeed. Just further to that, I should tell you that upon her departure, the previous General Manager found me the score and the words to the Central Coast song, which was composed in 1993 when we became Central Coast. I have scanned and emailed the score and the words to the band, asking if they've ever seen it, if they've ever played it, or whether they'd like to have a go at it. Because I thought perhaps we should start singing that at the start of our meetings or something. So I haven't had a response, but I'm very interested to see if the band's played it. But I'm keen to explore what that sounds like and what we can do with it, more importantly. So yeah, but a fabulous group down there, aren't they?
Wonderful.
doing very well. Any other councillor reports? Councillor Beswick?
Just like through the Central Coast Community Shed Committee, just like to acknowledge the great work that Robert McKenzie's done since its inception there. Robert stood down as the president at this last meeting, and Ian Hardstaff has taken up that role. So just like to acknowledge Robert, the great work that he's done, and he will continue to be involved in that. But yeah.
Thank you. No, worthwhile. Terrific. Any others? No? That is fine. Thank you for your contribution. Moving on to 5.1, leave of absence. There are no applications for consideration at this meeting. 6.1, deputations. No request for deputations to address the meeting or to make statements or to deliver reports that have been made. 7.1 is petitions. No petitions under the provisions of the Local Government Act 1993 have been presented, which takes us to councillor questions without notice. Going around the table inviting questions without notice. Councillor Carpenter, anything?
No, nothing.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Nothing for Councillor Wiley.
No,
Councillor
thank you,
Smith?
Mayor.
Councillor Hiskett? Councillor Viney?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Beswick?
No, thanks, Mayor.
And none for myself. Thank you, General Manager. Item 8.2, councillors' question on notice. No questions have been received. 9.1 is public question time. So at a time in between agenda items or close to 6:40, council will allow 30 minutes for public question time. If you're intending to ask a question, please note the following procedures. A maximum of 2 questions may be asked. If council are unable to answer a question at the meeting, then a written response will be provided following the meeting. And there is an information sheet there available to you with the full list of procedures. Members of the public are reminded that questions will be recorded in the minutes and that the meeting is live streamed and will be made publicly available. So we will go to that at 6:40 or as close thereafter. 9.2 is public questions taken on notice. So there was some questions taken on notice at the 19th of June meeting. And the questions and the responses are provided for you in the agenda there. Just noting there was no suggested resolution in the agenda for us to ensure that we receive those. So could I have somebody move that the public questions taken on notice at the 19th of June be received, please? Thank you, Councillor Viney, seconded Councillor Smith. I presume there's no questions or discussion on those? No, thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, and that's carried. Moving on to general management, 10.1 minutes and notes of committees of the council and other organisations. It was just the one, which was the Central Coast Audit Panel unconfirmed meeting minutes from the 5th of June. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item?
I will.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Seconded, Councillor Beswick. Any discussion on those minutes? No. Okay. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, motion is carried. 10.2 is the quarterly performance report, the annual plan for 2022-23. You have the full report there and the update of the highlighted actions. Not sure where that year went to, but it's gone. You've all been provided with a copy of that. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item?
I move there.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to speak to this?
As you've noted, Mayor, where's that year gone? We've got a lot of the work done. There's a few carryovers into next year, and let's hope that we can get all the items that we have moved forward completed in the near future. So other than that, there's not much else to add there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? No. Presumably you don't wish to close that debate, Councillor Beswick?
There's probably no debate if I'm the only one speaking there.
Correct, right. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, declared it carried. And I thank you to staff for their dedication to that work in the last 12 months. 10.3 is the deputations policy. You've been provided with a copy of the policy, and former General Manager Sandra Ayton, her report is there. Fairly self-explanatory. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item, please? Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Seconded, Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Wiley, did you wish to speak to the policy?
No, I don't think there's really anything to add. Thank you.
Any other speakers? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.4, annual reporting, the statement of remuneration paid to employees designated as key management personnel. You've received a report there that explains why we are just updating that reporting procedure. Could I have somebody move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you,
Absolutely.
Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Councillor Beswick, do you wish to speak to that?
There's not a lot to say about it, Mayor. It's just really confirming just a slight change in our directors' titles. And yeah, so other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Nothing new. Thank you. Any other speakers? No. Clara, just bringing that in line with the changes to the Act. There being no other speakers, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.5 is the gifts and donations policy. Again, you provided there with a report and a copy of the policy, which has had some amendments. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Seconded, Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Smith, did you wish to speak to that?
What to say is just the policy provides guidance in relation to these issues. It's something that we always have to be aware of. It's important. We are legally bound to act in accordance with the law and the regulations, and it's just good to have it right there for us just to remember. And I don't think anything more that can be really said about it, although it's important.
Indeed. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any other speakers? No. Nothing more to say. There being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Takes us to 10.6, which is the annual plan and budget report of Cradle Coast Waste Management Group for the year 23 and 24. We'll report there and an update on their activities. Supposed to click on something to take to the resolution. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that we received the annual report? It's amazing how when you're just two councillors down, it makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Sorry, I had to move it there to my right. Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Councillor, did you wish to speak to that?
Not our waste specialist, Councillor Carpenter, might have moved this one, but yeah, reading through that, it's great that we've got a combined group with waste on the Northwest Coast. It shows you how sharing can be done and can be done well. I look forward to the future where when Dalberton gets their DOT plant, forgive me for not knowing exactly the terminology of that, which is our FOGO plant. I'll use it in another term, organics, up and going, that it's great that the other municipalities on the coast are going to get on board and do what we've been doing for the last 3 years, which our community now, I'm sure, enjoys having that facility where the green waste and everything can go in there. It was a hard road initially, but everybody now appreciates it. So it's just great to see how things are moving on in that space.
Thank you. Any other speakers on this report?
Yes, I'll just, if I may, concur with what Councillor Beswick has said, that it's before my time, but fantastic to see that previous Central Coast Council did pave the way with FOGO, and that it looks like this report is a good reflection of things to come in a positive manner with waste. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter.
Totally endorse the other two councillors, Mayor. I think through the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group is the amount of time and effort they're going to still spend on education, which is excellent to see. through this group, really, this is what their role is, and setting them guidelines about that reduction in waste and landfill. It's pretty, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Aspiration.
Aspirational is the word, but when we see what the Central Coast has achieved out of FOGO, perhaps it's not. And I think it sets a good benchmark for other councils to get on board and follow this sooner rather than later, Mayor.
Agree. If you haven't got a target, you won't know when you hit it.
Dead right.
Good. Any other speakers? No. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to close?
I will just noting on what Councillor Carpenter said there. Reading some of the other documents in our agenda this week, there's a great opportunity even for industry to get involved in recycling with, like, from our building side of things, timber, excess timber that's not treated can go through the FOGO plant, plaster sheet. We take truckloads of offcuts and so forth. So there's a great opportunity to reduce the items that are going into landfill that can be recycled. So again, look forward to the future, and I concur with you, the education through the primary schools, which I noted in there as well. So thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.7 is the common seal. And you've got a new schedule there, which is provided to you tonight with a change. When you've had a chance to have a look, I'll ask if any councillor would care to move the suggested resolution for that item. Thank you, councillor Viney. Seconded, councillor Beswick. Councillor Viney, any comments?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Thank you. Nobody else wish to speak? Councillor Hiskett.
I just want clarification with the agreement with the Alveston Visitor Information Centre. Is that Hive or is that the previous centre, or are they the same thing, or are they a different entity? Just wanted clarification on.
Thank you. Normally I'd refer to the general manager, who might like to refer to the director. Yep. That's sorry.
I'm just not sure. Yeah.
That's okay. So we're talking about the retail agent
Yeah, I
assignment.
imagine they might
That's
be
right.
within Hive, but I just not sure how that's structured.
Yes, so I mean, through the Visitor Information Centre, obviously we provide and sell maps and provide information that is published by Parks and Wildlife. So presumably it's that, but the director will let us know. Any other questions? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.8 is schedule of contracts and agreements. You've been provided with a copy of that schedule. Any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for 10.8?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Beswick. Seconded, councillor Carpenter. Any questions or discussion on that item?
I think everything's straightforward, Mayor.
Thank you. There being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.9 is correspondence addressed to the mayor and councillors. You have a new copy of the schedule in front of you tonight. When you are ready to do so, I'll ask that a councillor move the suggested resolution for that item. Thank you, councillor Smith. Seconded, councillor Wiley. Councillor Smith, any questions or comments?
I think it's all self-explanatory. We've got our schedule correspondence there received, so I don't think there's much we can say. Just
Fabulous.
accept it.
They've been, I'm advised that they've all been responded to accordingly, so that's good. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. And we had no councillor questions for the General Manager's Department. I can assure you that that won't happen every time. But tonight, none for you. Moving to item 10.10 in Community Services, which is the Ulverston Sport and Leisure Centre Showgrounds Master Plan for 2023, with which you are all very familiar. When you are ready, could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, councillor Hiskett. Seconded, councillor Viney. Councillor Hiskett.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a fairly comprehensive report with some interesting information. Just have it been noted that the council's situation is to, or recommendation is to receive this report. as it was done by an external consultant, and they've produced this body of work, which we are now just receiving that document. It's not an endorsement by council either way onto the contents of the document. There is as I said, they've done a significant amount of work talking to, you know, I'd say there's almost 20 plus organisations within that space that they've talked with, and they've got a lot of valuable information. There are some recommendations that don't quite align, I think, with council's expectations in some areas as well. But that is why we will then look further into these recommendations when we go to produce any actions as well. Noting also the budget put against some of these actions, they will certainly be long term into the future. But that's why it's a master plan, not a annual plan. So no, other than that, just happy to receive the report and use the information provided within the report to make our decisions into the future.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I'd just like to say that we are very pleased to receive the report. It's been almost 4 years in process, so hopefully it's got some recommendations in it that we can use, and it's a positive influence upon the usage of that area.
Agreed. Thank you. Any other speakers? No. Councillor Hiskett, anything to close with?
No, nothing. Thank you.
No, thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Which takes us to 10.11, the Arts and Culture Strategy, the Cultural Collections Policy and Public Arts Policy. There as a combined resolution for you to receive, and a report provided to you, and copies of the relevant documents provided to you also. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item? Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Seconded, Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Wiley, did you want to speak to that item?
Thank you, I will. I was delighted to be taken through this at a workshop recently. The work that's gone into it has been really impressive, and I just think that arts and culture is such an important part of our culture and our community here on the Central Coast, and we've got a long way to go with how it can be developed and nurtured into the future. And I just think that these policy documents really display that nicely, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of these actions get put into place in the future.
Thank you.
And well done to the team who did it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Hiskett.
Yeah, a lot of our policies, when they come up, are renewals and are re-looking at something, and they're rejigging a few words and this and that. But this one really was, let's have a look at this from bare basics and what do we want to achieve with the policy. And I echo Councillor Wiley's comments that it really does achieve that. It's really looked at it holistically. And yeah, no, the presentation we had at the workshop was well presented as well, and it really gave a clear understanding to the councillors of what we were trying to achieve. And I think the policy, yeah, looking forward to the implementations of some of the strategies, and I think we can really look forward to seeing what's happening with this one.
Thank you. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to contribute?
Yes, Mayor, just to concur with the other councillors' comments, but I'd like to commend Jessie Pengus. She's the manager at the Hive. Listening to the presentation, as Councillor Wiley mentioned, you know, it was excellent. And as Councillor Hiskett said, it's good to be able to bring something up from the ground up rather than just it's always harder probably to try and rework something that's been in ground. So, but yeah, I just want to commend Jessie for the work that A, she's doing at the Hive, and B, the work that she's put in to these policies.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Thank you, Councillor Smith.
I'd also like to just concur. This policy's been great. Very important that this policy will assist the council to make decisions in the future. And it was just a really well put together document that it'll be the benefit for all the community.
Indeed. Thank you. I suppose I'd just like to add that it's always the challenge of museums, people that deal in historical artefacts. You know, what I believe is valuable and should be retained and preserved. It might not necessarily be the same as someone else's. And so the management of collections and what we accept on behalf of the community and accept custodianship for can often be hard and has been hard in the past. So at least the collections policy allows us some really clear guidance for everyone about how that works. So it should serve us all well. There being no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.12, development application determinations. You've been provided with a copy of a schedule for the determinations. When you're ready, could I have somebody move that the suggested resolution be moved for 10.12? Thank you, councillor Hiskett. Seconded by councillor Beswick. Councillor Hiskett, any comments to make?
Busy month. Another nearly 2 pager. So yeah, that's good to see continuing investment in developments in Central Coast. This is as proven in the recent report. And the Advocate, one of the highest number of DAs go through Central Coast, and punching well above our weight within the region. So this is just another example of the ones that are going through. So
Indeed, thank you. Other speakers? No, and our thanks to our staff for continuing to keep us on track and within the timelines and the work that they do. But indeed, it's pleasing to see the continued investment. Nothing else. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.13 is council acting as a planning authority. A reminder that we are now acting as a planning authority. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution to confirm that? Thank you, councillor Wiley. Seconded, councillor Beswick. Presume there's no discussion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Takes us to 10.14. It is the subdivision incorporating landfill to create the 17 residential lots at 2 Waverley Road in Ulverston, re-advertised. You've had time to read the report and all the associated documentation. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item? Councillor Carpenter,
Thank you.
seconded councillor Beswick. Councillor Carpenter, would you
Probably
like
need
to
a glass of
speak?
water.
Yes, perhaps councillor Wiley can help you do that.
Thanks, Mayor. Support the resolution, Mayor, at the end of again, 170 something pages. And it's incredible the amount of work that people have got to go through to get this sort of stuff through. But then again, it's warranted. And as we can see by the representations, why it's warranted. I totally agree with what the owners want to do out there and drain the dam, and I can feel for the young kids on the fishing front that have used it so well over the last decade, or nearly 2 decades, I suppose now.
Yep.
And it'll be an asset that'll be missed on that front. But it's private property and they can do what they like. So I think it's going to turn that little section into a beautiful spot for people to live, and the size of it. When I go through it and look at the representations and we look at the block size, and yes, they're under the 1.5 or the 1,500 square metres, some down to 1,200 and such. But we're also pushed to the extent where we want a higher density living from the TPC and from government as such. Do we want more people living in town? I'm not saying I agree with that, Mayor. I'd sooner see a bigger backyard and so forth, but that's the way the regulations are going, and that's what our powers above want to see happen. So our planners have accepted the sizes, and I can totally concur with that.
Mm-hmm.
I see where the representations with the safety aspect, but when we ask for developers to get professional advice and consultancy reports, we've also got to, we are adjudicated that we've got to follow that professional advice, and we've got that. We've had our planners go through that with their fine-tooth comb. They've all agreed that it's acceptable. So as a councillor, I've got to accept that. I can't go out of that guidelines unless we want to go again and ask for another opinion. So we accept them professional advice. I would love to see the 5% in lieu of open space go into the footpath. I totally agree with one representation that there should be a connecting path there somewhere. And I think that 5%, once we look at the open space policy, that 5% in lieu from them blocks could go towards that footpath. And I know our director's working on and council's working on an aspiration to make sure our planning going forward that we can get co-investment in sort of things, but we're not in the position at the moment to be able to ask for a lot of that co-investment, which is, that's our fault, no one else's fault. So we've got to take ownership of that, and we'll address that over time, but it's not something you can fix overnight. So it's a little area, and when we think of West Teller Drive, and we've often spoken about the other little blocks that are out there on the east side going towards Devonport, what might happen? This might encourage some more development through there. I don't know. It might encourage more rezoning. So me, totally endorse the resolution, the recommendation. It is a really detailed report, and I think they've done as good as they can, and I'm glad that our planners also gone through with a fine-tooth comb is what they've got to do, and have come up and said it's okay by them. So I have the confidence to say it'll be all okay, but I do take those representations with some sincerity. But I think we've got it as good as we possibly can at the moment.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Viney.
Although I'm disappointed that the area can't continue as a recreational area for junior fishers, as it has in the past, I agree that the owner of the property has control over that property. And on planning grounds, even though we've had our discussions regarding landslip and traffic management, etc., the expert opinions are that everything's okay in that area. So on planning grounds, I'd have to agree with the proposition.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley.
Yes, thank you. I just would like to say that it is agree with everything that both of the other councillors have said, but I just would like to also just make it clear that all of these representations that we get on any of these development applications, they don't go unheard. They're really important to us to hear from the residents in all of these areas, because if nothing else, even if it doesn't go the way that they want it to, it really does make us question and really look at all of those things with a fine-tooth comb, like Councillor Carpenter had said. And we do have a lot of faith in our planning department and the consultants that the professionals that do give us this advice. But I just wanted to, I guess, highlight the fact that it is definitely something that's listened to, and it's always worthwhile putting a representation in if you feel strongly about something.
Okay. Agreed. Yes, speakers. Councillor Bestwick.
Yes, Mayor. I'm happy to support the motion as has been put. As Councillor Wiley mentioned, we do take seriously the representations that are put in for any applications. And there's a couple of things that I've discussed with the director and the other councillors since we had our agenda out last week. And there's 2 points in there for me that is the safety. So a barrier on that corner that was mentioned in one of the representations. And then also safe access for young people. I see these blocks here as lifestyle type of blocks. They are a decent size compared to what's in town. Like the average block in town now is probably half the size of these blocks there. So they're probably going to have young families there. So access to town, school or whatever, we encourage people these days to use bikes, walk and all those sort of things. I would like to encourage, as I say, I'm happy to support it as it is. I would like to encourage the developer to reach out even to us as a council or from a civic licence to consider some work, perhaps with some paths with the council, perhaps, because in the end it is going to make the blocks more attractive for sale if people can see that they've got good access to town. And talk to our planners or infrastructure staff where we may be able to work together to benefit everybody that's going to buy the blocks of land there. So, as I said, I'm happy to support the motion as it is, but I do hear Zintor's points and take them on board. And as I say, I'd just like to encourage that if it's possible.
Thank you. Councillor Hiskett.
And just to throw more support behind that comment as well. The other thing that a formal path down there would do is slow the traffic down just by virtue of it being there as well, which would then alleviate some of the other representatives' issues to an extent too. So, you know, I think that needs to be strongly echoed to the developer that that's something that council, although it cannot be placed as a condition due to planning reasons, it's something that we would really like them to consider as a social aspect in that area, that it alleviates a lot of the issues, and as Councillor Beswick said, would make the properties more saleable as well, I would imagine. So, but other than that, yes, the expert advice we've received from the reports indicates that all will be well. And, you know, they are from reputable sources as well. It's not someone who's going to put their reputation on the line for any other reason than giving sound advice. So I'm happy to believe the advice that we've been received regarding, you know, landslip and traffic management, and therefore on the basis of that information we've been provided, I'm happy that this will proceed.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No, I think there's only yourself, councillor Smith.
I again can concur with the council's decision. I do see the representatives' points, the safety and the pathways. But in the end of the day, we've been put here as a plan and authority, and we have to make these decisions. They've been very professional reports done. And as one of the councillors said, I think at the end of the day, all will be well. But I just wanted to, and we all know and would wish this, that we do listen to the representatives' questions and respect that, and as they will respect our decision. And I just thank them for reaching out to us. That's all we can do. And as you did once say, I always say, Mayor, you said this planning is going to be the hardest of our decisions, and I'm learning that really quickly, because I know a lot of the people that are related into this particular development. So I don't think I could say any more. I think all will be well in the end of the day, and that's all I think I can say.
That's all of us. Councillor Carpenter, did you wish to close?
I will do just for a minute, Mayor, because and thank all councillors for their input, which is great. And again, we've had this professional advice. These are not going to become available within snapping your fingers, and they're going to be there in 6 or 7 months' time. It could be 12 months, 2 years, or whatever. I'm not sure the time frame. But probably it would be prudent of us to put West Ella Drive on a forward work plan, and I know we've been asking for this for quite some time to do this. So now I think, you know, West Ella Drive could go on the work plan for the forthcoming 12 months after this one. We can't change too much this time. And if there is an opportunity to be able to get the developers to move on some footpath work or some beautification, that make it a lot more saleable along with that money, with that 5% in lieu, I think it'll be a good part to be able to make a start and formalise that, because we've got to remember when the fishing was there, we was continually bombarded with the traffic problems and things like that. So to get West Ella Drive formalised some way, or sections of it started now, would be a great thing for the council and for future growth in that area. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I can see the staff taking notes. That being the end of the conversation, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Following the conclusion of the planning matters, I note that council is no longer acting as a planning authority. It being shortly after 6:40, we will now move to public question time. We have one question on notice to the General Manager. So, General Manager, we might go to you for the reading of that first, and then we'll go to the questions that come from the floor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. On Thursday, 3rd July 23, Mr. John Richardson submitted 2 questions to be asked tonight's meeting. Question number 1 is, in response to the public question asked at the council meeting 23rd of January 23, and I quote, the General Manager responded that the council's annual action plan for 22-23 did not include the development of a new Leith community plan, nor any other community plans. There were not enough resources for this to be undertaken during the 22-23 year, unquote, close quote. When does the council now intend to commence the development of the new Leith community plan? My response is there is no undertaking for the development of a new Leith community plan this financial year. Consideration will be given to the development of the new plan as part of the 24-25 annual plan and budget process. The second part, of this question is in response to the public question asked at the council meeting 19th of June 23 regarding the Forth to Turners Beach shared pathway, 1.7 million. The response was, and I quote, Forth to Turners Beach shared pathway, no design work has been undertaken for this project. The location and extents are unknown. It is listed in the LTFP, which is long-term financial plan, for future consideration, close quotes. Who or what entity or entities conceived the Forth to Turners Beach shared pathway listed in the LTFP for future consideration, and what consultations has the council had with the communities of Forth, Turners Beach and Leith regarding Forth to Turners Beach shared pathway? The response to that lengthy question is, it is difficult to determine exactly who conceived the idea or when the idea of a shared pathway between Turners Beach and Forth was conceived. It was listed as early as 2007 in the Leith Community Plan, with pathway networks and linkages also mentioned in the Turners Beach and Forth community plans. Consultation with the community would have been part of the development of the community plans at that time. It has also been listed as an agenda item for many years at the Forth community representative meetings. That's the end of those questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Adriana Gibson is with us again. Thank you again for braving the cold weather, Adriana, to come out and join our meeting. We appreciate your regular attendance, and I acknowledge that I've been provided with your questions in writing, which I'll read out and then we'll respond to if we can, which will save you the trouble of trying to shout down the other end of the table to me, won't it? Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that, and I appreciate your concern for the broader community, which is reflected in your questions tonight. So Adriana's first question this evening is, would the council consider leasing, purchasing or acquiring at a peppercorn rate the ANZ Bank on the northeastern corner of Raby Street and King Edward Street and the Ocean View Guest House on the northeastern corner of Water Street and Victoria Street to house homeless people in Ulverston? Community bodies such as Warrawee Incorporated are equipped to manage facilities of this nature once they are created, and there exists a corpus of skilled craftspeople in the community, a core, I suppose, of skilled craftspeople in the community who may be prepared to donate labour for working bee style events in service of so pro-social a purpose. I thank you for the question. So obviously both of the properties that you're referring to there are both under private ownership. One of them has recently been purchased. I noticed that the other one is possibly up for subdivision or for sale there. I'm not sure how council, well, we do not have a head of power to influence what those private property owners do with those properties or under what terms or costs they would be rented out. I do notice that the general manager and myself have a meeting with the property owner of one of those properties that you've mentioned in the coming weeks, and that meeting would be to tell us what it is that they are thinking about doing with that property. So I'm certainly happy to explore your suggestion and the nature of your well-intended question with him when we meet. Obviously, as I said, being under private ownership, we certainly don't have the provision to be purchasing such properties, but your point is well made, and you can rest assured that under and through the work that we are doing with homeless considerations and our homeless strategy and the work that we're doing in connection with the Salvation Army and others, that we are actively looking every single day for places that we can convert, lobby the state government to convert and so forth. So it is front of mind for ourselves. Thank you for your suggestion and your compassionate question. Question 2 from yourself, with the similar community focus, could the empty shops in Raby Street be made available on a peppercorn rent basis for pop-up shops run by volunteers providing services to develop skills in basic literacy, numeracy, digital musical and cultural activities for the local community. Again, a very well-intended question. The empty shops in Raby Street, they come and they go, don't they? And we're very fortunate in Ulverston because a lot of them don't stay empty for very long. So that is wonderful. Again, we don't own any of the properties in the retail sector. But I know there have been suggestions in other communities over time about how empty shops can be activated, I think is the language, by artists or by other activities. So my undertaking to you is to speak to the Chamber of Commerce. The General Manager and I meet regularly with the Chamber of Commerce members and the executive, and of course Councillor Wiley is our liaison person for their regular meetings, but happy to talk to them about how they could sound out their membership that might own properties that might be able to be used for that or similar type of community focused wellbeing projects. So that's an undertaking we can take on both those questions if you're happy with that. Yes. Terrific, thank you. Thank you so much for your questions. And yes, welcome, Lyndall, lovely to see you. Do you have a question you'd like to participate in public question time? You don't have to, no pressure.
Enjoying the show.
Great. Thank you for coming along. Fabulous. That brings us to the end then of public question time. Thank you all. We'll move on to item 10.15, infrastructure service determinations. And you've been provided with a schedule of those determinations. When you're ready, would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Councillor Beswick, any questions or comments on that schedule?
No, Mayor.
No, we're all good. Thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. And we have no questions from councillors for the Department of Infrastructure Services. Thank you, Paul. Moving on to corporate services, item 10.16, statutory determinations. You've been provided with a copy of those determinations. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item? Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Any questions or comments?
Mayor, the Rangers have been busy again,
They have been busy.
both on things with rubber tyres and things with four legs.
Correct.
There, so, but it is disappointing to see dog attacks still every month.
Agreed.
It's disappointing.
Great. Any other comments or questions? No, there being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.17 is financial statements for the period ending the 30th of June 2023. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item? Thank you, Councillor Viney.
Second that.
You're very reliable. Seconded, Councillor Beswick. Councillor Viney, any comments? on the item?
Only to say I'm pleased to receive the reports, and it's, as I see them, a final present from our previous CEO, Sandra, and onward and upward.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on this item? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. And we have no councillor questions for the Department of Corporate Services. No, thank you. In that case, that brings us to the closure of the meeting for the public. Item 11.11. Would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Hiskett. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, which brings us to the end of the public section of our meeting. Thank you for your attendance, Adriana and Lyndall. Keep warm, the two of you.
Thanks for coming.
You need a hand with some of that stuff, Adriana? Would you like a hand with some of your things there?
I think I've got them all here.
Don't forget your stick.
Go with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.